Right, one of the things that I really like making in my workshop are tools and fixtures which have various different purposes and what would be regarded as multifunctional. And this is one such tool that I've been working on over the past week. It's a multifunctional fixture and it can be used in a bench vise, on an angle grinder cut-off stand, on a bench drill, or on lathes for milling. And often when I'm making tools like this, I start off with an idea. This was an idea of actually making a fixture for the cut-off stand on the angle grinders that I've been using lately. And as I thought about it, I developed it even further for the uses on the other machines and on the bench vise. And it's great if you can actually make fixtures that are multifunctional, because it not only saves time, but it also saves space in the workshop. And I hope to show the full purposes of this fixture later in the week. But this evening I'd just like to show you a multifunctional tool that I made. There's probably many of you that have actually made this tool out there, but for newcomers I'd just like to show you how useful this tool is for use on the lathe. And I do mainly use carbide insert tooling, but I have several HSS tools which are homemade. And this one here is one of the most useful tools that I have, or the most used tools that I have. And when you see all the different functions or the different things that it can do, I'm sure that you'll want to make one yourself. And these tools here are just some of the HSS tools that I have, homemade or home ground tools. And over the next few weeks I hope to show how to make different versions of these tools. I have ones with large radiuses. I mark on the side what radius they are. That one there is 110 rad. And these are great tools for doing O-ring grooves and things like that. I have homemade tools like these here for doing very small circlip grooves, and I'll show you how to grind these up. And also small O-ring groove tools for inside bores and things. Very easy to make up. All you have to do is make sure you have the clearances correct. I don't really use protractors or anything to find the correct angles or anything. I do everything by eye and just check that the tool isn't rubbing in any place, and I'll show you various different ways you can do that to check to see whether a tool is rubbing or not cutting correctly. So this tool is not only multifunctional, it's also two tools in one. It's made of a piece of 5/16 HSS, 4 inches long, and you can buy lengths of this on eBay. And it's basically a tool which is ground probably about 45 degrees on each side. Like I said, I don't check it with a protractor, I just do the angle by eye. And quite a steep angle on the front here, and this tool can do turning, facing off, chamfering, decorative grooves, and also center drilling for drilling on the lathe. And I have one of these set up in this tool holder, one for the Chinese mini lathe and one for the Myford. And the great thing, like I said, it's a 2-in-1 tool, so it can be actually used on one side of the tool post for this end here, turn it round and put it on the other side of the tool post, and it can be used on the face of the actual component. Now when you buy HSS blanks, you'll find that when you get the blank, it's quite sharp on the corners, and it must be left like that. When you come to grind it on the grinding wheel, it gets very warm quickly. You can actually hold the HSS in your tool holder like this and grind it up. But you obviously have to be very careful that you don't damage the tool holders. I like to make these tools here. For a square piece of HSS, I measure the diagonal of the square and choose a drill that's the same size or just a few thou over. Drill down halfway into a piece of aluminium. I've nailed this in a couple of sections here, and I've put 4mm Allen bolts in line. I put the HSS into that up to the stop, and then lock those Allen bolts up, and that makes a great handle for using on the bench grinder and getting very precise grinding. Right, so now I'll just show you grinding this one up on the bench grinder, and then I'll show the various different uses on the lathe. There are one or two more uses that I forgot to mention, and you'll be very interested to see them. And if you're new to using a grinding wheel, it's best not to actually rest the tool on the rest of the grinding wheel. It's best to have your finger underneath and offer it up to the wheel like that. So I'm doing both angles at the same time, the steep angle on the front and the actual rough about 45-degree angle on one side. So that's the tool finished one end, and then it's just turn around and do the other end. You can see roughly the angle I have on there, and that all the sides are roughly equal. Next, I either take the HSS tool out of the handle here and put it in a bench vise, or hold it in the bench vise like this. I'm just using this vise as an example. I put it up at the angle like that. You can actually rest it on the Allen bolts there and just tighten that one up. And then I use my coarse diamond lap just to put a radius on the front of the tool, and it must actually follow that angle round. You mustn't lift it up at all, it must follow the angle exactly. So it's worth doing it slowly and do a radius right the way round, just to break the edge basically. There might be some instances where you need to put a large radius on that for various different components, but if it's done correctly, you'll see that the radius is touched on the top side of the angle here, and the bottom side here. It won't touch in the middle because of the grinding wheel taking out a bit of a dip in the middle there. But you can see there the radius is just on the bottom piece and the top of the angle. If you actually lifted the diamond up when you were going round, you'd actually ruin the actual cutting angle and it won't cut nicely. So then it's basically the same for the other end, and you end up with the tool like this. So then it's obvious you set the centre height of the tool. When I set the centre height on the Chinese mini lathe, I use this old running centre here, or live centre. I put that one in the jaws there and tighten that up, and then I put the tool over right onto the end and see whether that's dead on centre, which it is. So this is that handle that I held the HSS in, and I haven't quite finished this one because I knew I'd be showing this for a demonstration. Put this one in the jaws. And firstly, just simple facing off and chamfering. Now I've put the same component in the jaws with the live centre in the back here. I'm going to be turning this recess here and tidying up a knurl to make it look much better. So I machined this knurl earlier on the Chinese mini lathe, and you can see that when a knurl comes to the end here, it looks very untidy because the diamond shape of the knurl is incomplete. And you can use this tool to machine back a bit and tidy that up, and it also puts an angle on the front of the knurl there. You can also machine in from this end here a bit, and that's what I call a raised knurl then. You can also put decorative lines in to make the tool look very professional. And like I did these decorative grooves on the knurl here, don't forget you can actually turn the tool round and do decorative grooves on faces of components, or marking out of components to get the PCD alignment of such things. So now you can see that tool looks 10 times better than what I showed at the beginning of the video. And that's what it's all about. It's not only making tools that are fully functional, but it's making them look really nice as well. Now another great use for this tool is actually centre drilling, for when you're going to drill a hole right the way through, or a hole to a certain depth, so that the drill picks up on the hole and runs concentric. And not many people know about this, but you can actually use one of these tools to do that centre drill hole. What you do is face off the component first, and maybe chamfer the side there like that one, and then take it to say a few millimetre off centre, and then as I advance the tool into the face of the component, I'm taking it over on the cross slide as well until it actually clears the centre hole. So it's going forward and across at the same time. There's a little bit of a neck in it, but once you get it, it's a great thing to have, because you don't have to bother with a centre drill when you're doing certain components. So when you're actually doing that, the tool isn't going straight in or across. It's effectively going both ways at the same time and going in at an angle like that. And then that forms a perfect cone in there. If you don't get it right, you get a flat on the bottom, and sometimes the drill will pick up on that flat and can go off center. So you've got to aim for a nice perfect cone. And finally, I'm going to use the same tool again to put a chamfer on that drilled hole and a couple of decorative face grooves. and that's about it.